This is the life story of W.B. Greene, the first president of the Aurora Foundation, which now is called the Community Foundation of the Fox River Valley. In 1971, Mr. Greene established an endowment fund within the Aurora Foundation to provide income for the repair and maintenance of the Greene farmstead properties where he lived as a boy. This video was produced by the Community Foundation in October 2011 in appreciation for Mr. Greene's unparalleled commitment to our organization and to preserve the legacy of one of Aurora's most dedicated civic leaders. William Bertram Greene was born on September 4, 1886, at Oak Cottage on the family farm, which is located at the corner of Greene and Hobson Roads in DuPage County. Oak Cottage is still standing today, as is the red barn that was a prominent feature of the farm. The Greene farmstead properties are now under the management of the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. Greene's father, William Spencer Greene, was born in 1857, in the same home as his son. He died in 1932. Greene's mother, Jessie Hibbard, was born in Chicago in 1860. She died in 1931. William Greene, who later was called W.B., grew up on the family farm, which he cherished. As he wrote in his book, Dear Progeny, "I was born of poor but honest parents, the third child of 7. The one following me died at birth. We became a close-knit group, had loving parents and happy childhoods, with work enough to achieve a sense of purpose, topped off with college educations paid for by the farm." Siblings Hibbard, Laura, W.B., Marion, Arthur, and Grace were a team, as is evidenced by this photo from 1905. According to W.B., his upbringing was strict but loving. "My early training led to my acceptance of the 10 Commandments and the Victorian Code. We didn't play games on Sunday, and formalities in many phases of life were strictly observed." Greene later remembered that mealtime was especially fun because the family could talk things over. "But the best evenings were when our mother would read aloud," he commented. Greene attended the country school at the northeast corner of Hobson Road and Illinois Route 53 until 7th grade. It was a half-mile walk from his home. For 8th grade, he and his brother Hibbard, who was a senior, drove by horse and buggy to a school in Downers Grove. He then enrolled in the College Academy at Northwestern, now called North Central College in Naperville. The College Academy offered the equivalent of high school work. 4 years later, he attended the University of Illinois, where he received a degree in mechanical engineering in 1908. Although W.B. enjoyed his engineering studies, he realized the need to broaden his background during his later years in college. While at the university, he asked permission to attend classes in economics for the sake of learning the subject, not to earn credit. After college, he devoted himself to the reading of classical literature, a habit that remained with him for the rest of his life. In 1907, William Greene met his future wife, Jane Smith, at a party hosted by a mutual friend, Grace Nichols. Grace and Jane were classmates at Wells College in New York. In later years, Greene commented, "A Miss Smith, seated across the room from me at Grace's introductory party, had a captivating smile, and that was it." William Greene had found his partner in life, and on December 27, 1910, they were married in Auburn, New York. In the early years of his marriage, W.B. worked for the Stevens Adamson Company as an advertising manager. Jane capably managed the household on her husband's starting salary of $100 a month. As Greene later remarked, "Jane took pride in balancing our budget and acquired habits of thrift that surprised our grandchildren." In 1916, he and Harry Barber, who was an engineer at Stevens Adamson, launched the Barbara Greene Company in Aurora. Through their guidance, the company ultimately became an international organization that produced road paving and other equipment employing more than 3,000 people. In Aurora, the Barbara Greene Company became one of the most civic-minded companies in the area, earning the respect and admiration of local citizens. After several years of apartment living in Aurora, the Greenes had a house built at 1300 Garfield Avenue in Aurora. Frank Lloyd Wright was their architect. They lived in the home until 1959. W.B. and Jane had 4 children. After a brief 3-day illness, Maxon, the couple's first child, died suddenly at the age of 7. Dr. Dreyer, for whom Dreyer Clinic is named, diagnosed Maxon's illness as possible meningitis, and the grief that W.B. and Jane experienced over their loss was profound. Fortunately, their 3-year-old daughter Sally provided needed diversion to ease the pain. A year later, Jane gave birth to Alex. 18 months after Alex's birth, Tony was born. Sally now had 2 younger brothers as partners. In their 1934 Christmas postcard, the family posed on their neighbor's stone wall. Included on the card was a poem regarding the importance of family unity during times of crisis. Unlike Humpty Dumpty, the Greene family did not fall. To paraphrase 2 lines from the poem, they stood shoulder to shoulder and grew older and bolder. Family was important to W.B. and Jane. They watched with pride as their children grew into young adults. Sally attended Carleton College in Minnesota and Mills College in California. She devoted her life to the raising of her 4 sons, Steve, Peter, Bill, and Joe, and was involved in numerous civic and conservation activities in Marin County, California. She was voted Citizen of the Year in her hometown of Belvedere, California. After her husband's death, Sally became proficient in piloting the family boat beyond the Golden Gate Bridge into the Pacific. As her brother Alex commented, in later years, Sally was considered an avid sailor, a description that aptly characterized her. Sally passed away in 2000. Alex attended Rhode Island State College, now the University of Rhode Island, the University of New Hampshire, and the University of Illinois. He was the Vice President of Administration at the Barbara Greene Company. He and his wife, Marjorie, had 3 children, Judy, Gordon, and Kathy. Tony attended Purdue University for 2 years and UCLA after World War II. He and his wife, Barbara, had 2 children, Chris and Kimberly. He eventually achieved the position of president and chairman of the board of Barbara Greene. Tony died in 1990. Alex and Tony served their country during World War II. Alex remembered that his father and mother gave their children solid principles upon which to build their lives.
I well remember the day that my father and I had lunch together at an army base near Cheltenham, England, during World War II. Dad was in England on business, and I was there in a combat engineering battalion prior to being deployed to Germany. He and my mother were always there for us.
W.B. and Jane lived in their home at 1300 Garfield until 1959, at which time they had a smaller home built at 111 South Gladstone Avenue, which was next to the Garfield residence. W.B. wanted Jane to have a smaller home to maintain due to the heart attack that she had suffered. Throughout their marriage, Greene was always considerate and protective of his wife. After the new house was built, the Greene's son and daughter-in-law, Alex and Marjorie, bought the original home on Garfield Avenue and lived there for the next 25 years. Like W.B., Alex and Marjorie also created a charitable fund within the Community Foundation. In 1948, community leaders established a community foundation in Aurora called the Aurora Foundation. W.B. was the organization's first president, serving a total of 13 years. The organization changed its name in 2006 to the Community Foundation of the Fox River Valley. During his time on the board, W.B. oversaw the awarding of $1.6 million in grants and $144,000 in scholarships, and the assets of the foundation reached $1.5 million. The community foundation that W.B. Greene started has grown dramatically over the years. Its continuing impact upon the Fox Valley area would make him proud. Greene was a director of Aurora College, now Aurora University. In 1962, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Humanities degree by the college. W.B. was a member of numerous community and professional organizations. He was a charter member of the Aurora Kiwanis Club, member of the Union League clubs of Aurora and Chicago, Illinois State Chamber of Commerce, Aurora Chamber of Commerce, and the University of Illinois Foundation. Jane served as a board member of the Juvenile Protective Association for many years and was instrumental in starting the first kindergarten in Aurora. A few years after Jane's death, in 1973, the DuPage Girl Scouts honored her memory by naming their facility for her. W.B. and his family proudly attended the dedication ceremony.
Mother was very patient with us. We kids loved to go camping and came home with dirty clothes and sleeping bags, and she would get them all nice and tidy, and then off we'd go someplace the following weekend and repeat the process. But she put up with it. She was a game gal, and we loved her dearly.
In 1966, W.B. retired as chairman of the board from the Barbara Greene Company. 2 decades later, the company was sold to Aztec Industries of Chattanooga, Tennessee. In 1971, Greene gifted his beloved Oak Cottage and barn to the Aurora Foundation, which then sold the property to the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. The proceeds from the sale of the property were placed in an endowment fund within the Aurora Foundation to support the repair and maintenance of the farmstead's buildings. The one provision, agreed upon prior to the sale, was that his sister Grace be accorded the right of life tenancy at Oak Cottage. Grace and her husband Everett Brown had 2 children, Tom Brown and Nancy Brown Stoneberg. Tom and Nancy were the last generation to live at Oak Cottage. Forever sensitive, W.B. had his family's favorite oak tree at Oak Cottage filled with cement and protected by lightning rods. He often expressed his belief that God could best be found through nature, and Greene did his very best to protect what God had made possible. After Jane's death in 1973, W.B. spent more and more time at Oak Cottage. He also maintained residency at 111 South Gladstone Avenue, in the smaller home he and Jane had built in 1959. In later life, he wrote The Greenes on the East Branch, God Bless Our Home, and Dear Progeny. These rich memoirs give readers vivid insight into the life of W.B. and his family. They also serve as treasured historical documents of the early to mid-20th century. In 2011, the Community Foundation converted each book into electronic format to ensure their continued preservation. Readers are now able to access these writings on the Community Foundation website. After a long, successful, and meaningful life, William Bertram Greene died in 1982. He was 95 years of age. Greene always said, "Support good leaders or be one yourself." True to his word, he both supported people of vision and devoted his life to the betterment of the Aurora community. What a wonderful and lasting legacy W.B. Greene has bequeathed to the citizens of Aurora and beyond.